guest today is a player who can softly caress you with his playing right before kicking you ruthlessly in the butt. It's jazz, he says, but it doesn't sound like it. He's a professional player since he was about 15, moved from Israel to New York at the age of 24, and he started as a drummer, worked with many great drummers himself later on, but turned into a unique ace on the guitar. Welcome to this episode, Oz Noy.
Thank you. I didn't start as a drummer. I wanted to be a drummer.
I thought, okay, Wikipedia is wrong there.
Yeah, no, I didn't start as a drummer. I wanted to be a drummer, still do, but it didn't work out.
You're working with only great drummers though, right?
Yeah, well, that's the point of making good music. You want to play with the best guys you can.
Yeah. You know? So I'm kind of still landing. You just had a gig here in the Netherlands, and for me it was quite overwhelming. How was it for you after a gig?
The same.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. So it's, there are gigs that you get tired. I don't know why. It sometimes doesn't have anything to do with a gig. You know, actually what makes me tired? If the volume is too loud, it really gets, you almost feel like somebody's putting like a weight on your head, you know what I mean, your ears. So that can make me tired. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, so you're not the kind of person that pumps up before you go on stage.
No,
you're just there.
I don't even, I noodle on a guitar before I play. Tonight I didn't actually, but usually I do. But it doesn't make any difference whether I warm up or not.
You just can just walk on stage and walk off like another day at the office.
The only thing is, once you start playing, you get used to the sound and the way it reacts. That's when it starts cooking,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I never figure out a way where I feel like after like a song or two, I'm started to get into the zone, I would say. I never figure out how to be at the zone, like right on the first beat,
That must be difficult also.
Yeah,
right?
It's really difficult.
Hey, I mentioned I'd just like to go through some of your phases in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, first playing guitar was a moment, right?
Actually, no.
No?
What it was I wanted to play drums. My mom already started to look for drum lessons. And then a friend of mine was studying guitar, so I went and took a lesson went to a lesson that he went to. He took me to his teacher. And I started to take guitar lessons. I don't remember being excited about it at all. I think what got me excited is when I started to listen to the Beatles. Well, I was listening to the Beatles already, but when a friend of my brother came over and started playing Beatles songs and all this pop songs on the guitar, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
But before that, it was kind of like, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay. Then you had to cancel the drum lessons.
Yeah.
And but obviously you got hooked, right, by the instrument.
Oh yeah. Especially once my dad brought me a little pickup that I can put on the nylon string guitar. It sounded horrible and make feedback. But once I started playing loud, I was like, okay, now we're in business.
So he was a musical or a technical guy that he was able to do
He's a technical guy, but no, he just bought me this little pickup that you can glue on a nylon string guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like shit, but it was fitting back. But my brother started playing bass at the time. So my brother had a bass amp. So once I plugged in the guitar into an amp, I was like, okay, now we're talking.
So that's a great feeling to feel it resonate, right?
Yeah. Once you got volume and
you just said you hated it. But so you mentioned your mother, your father. Were they musical?
No, not at all. My brother started to play bass a little after I started to play guitar, and he had a band with a couple of friends of his, and that kind of influenced me a lot because I can see. They wrote songs, they played, in school and stuff. So I was like, oh, wow, this is cool.
So what kind of stuff did they play?
Like, I don't know, Beatles-ish kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
2 guitars, bass, drums.
So, okay, you wanted to drum, then the guitar entered your life. And you were super young when you were already on stage, right?
I started playing at 10.
Yeah.
And at the age of the thing was, my brother started to bring some jazz albums home. I don't know why. I have no idea why. He had a friend of his piano player, so he brought like Chick Corea and Kid Jarrett, McLaughlin, and I don't know, Al Di Meola and stuff like that. So I kind of got hooked on that. And then about a year after I started playing guitar, I went to a teacher that would teach me jazz. So I started to learn jazz chords. And then about a year later, I went to somebody that's a little better, that, Berkeley guy. So he taught me a little more. And I just got hooked on the improvisational stuff, George Benson, I remember there was one George Benson record, Chick Corea. And the thing was, I got professional in a really young age. I remember my first recording session was when I was 13. But around the age of 15, 16, I started to play professionally, like doing recording session and playing with some name guys in Israel,
But if you're 13 and already doing a recording session, what kind of, did you have bravura or like?
No, it was, I had a band. There was a band and we went in the studio and recorded, and then this guy that was working with us called me to do some more stuff. It wasn't anything big, but still recording at the age of 13, like playing a guitar solo or like parts and stuff like that.
Were you instantly like quite confident on the instrument? Because if you are,
I don't remember any of that. I don't remember if I was or if I wasn't, The only thing I do remember is at some point, what happens when you grow up, you start meeting people that are kind of around your age. All the people I play with was always older than me, but they're kind of still around my age.
Yeah.
Like 3-4 years older. And then you start playing together, so we had all these bands and stuff. And then that's how things start to roll,
Mm-hmm.
Because some of those guys I'm still in touch with. Some of them became really popular, like Israeli singer-songwriters or producers and stuff like that,
So that's also always interesting with music that I had some friends before as well. They were older.
Yeah.
But music is a great connector with that, right? I mean.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, you can really. Yeah, most of my childhood, I played with even till now, I'm playing with guys that are older than I am, So, But that's got nothing to do
Jimmy
with
Aslip is just walking in.
Jimmy is fucking up our interview, dude.
No, he's mentioning older guys, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but was it by then deliberate? Like, okay, I did a recording session and I did some things for TV, right? You did in Israel.
By the time at the age of 18, I was fully working. Like I played on a bunch of big records in Israel, and I was playing with a couple of famous singers. So between the age of 18 and 24, when I moved to New York, I pretty much did everything you can do in Israel, like tons of TV stuff, recordings, pop gigs, stuff. A lot of jazz gigs, actually, because there wasn't a lot, but there was a few jazz places to play. And I have a bunch of friends that were really good jazz players. So I played all the time.
Why did you think they asked this young kid to do all this work?
I don't know. I was good enough, I guess. And some of the stuff got hooked up through friends of mine that were maybe a little older than I am, but I was working with them,
Mm-hmm.
For a minute, I was like the new hot guy, and then the minute went pretty quick. Really, it did. But I was working till I moved to New York. I stopped going to school when I was 16.
What do you mean working? Like you had another job? Or
No, working in guitar, playing guitar. So from the age of 16, I didn't go to school. My parents weren't happy about it, but they couldn't say anything because I was busy. Like I was playing gigs. I was making a little bit of money. At some point, I was even making decent money because I was doing TV stuff all the time. I was in a house band for a big show. And I played with famous people in Israel, so nobody can say anything.
Yeah. But you were like, was it really like a choice? I have to do this, or like, oh, this gig comes along. Yeah, that's nice. The other one comes along. Can you maybe sketch that a little bit?
The choice of playing guitar?
Yeah, or making that really your profession.
I never thought about it as a profession. I just did it all the time. I was kind of obsessed with it. But I think that the people that end up doing it, like me and a lot of other people, there's nothing else. It's like you have to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things, I think, you know? Yeah. It's hard to tell now. I'm like, you know, I'm 52 now. It's like, what is like?
Yeah, but I'm just curious, like, how did it all start, right? I mean,
It starts and there's, you do what you love, you know. I still tell people that when I do masterclasses and stuff, because like, just don't worry about the money, don't worry about anything, just do what you love, because that's what it's about, you know. Whether you're gonna make it or not, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's just about doing what you love.
Is that something? Some sort of thought that was also in your family accepted? Like, okay, he's just
Not
doing
really.
what he. No, okay.
I just think I was not good in school. I was kind of problematic kid, you know. So
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why. It's just DNA.
Yeah,
Why?
it's always DNA.
Yeah.
Blame it.
I was not. But I think, like, you know, people say music saved me. I think music kind of did save me because I was kind of a slightly messed up teenager, we'll say, you know, or kid, you know. So that kind of stuff put me in the routine. I remember when I stopped going to school, I was a little freaked out. My parents were freaked out, but I started practicing all the time. And once you practice, you get into a routine, then everybody kind of chilled out. It's like, okay, he's not like going in the streets and doing drugs or something. He's playing music. Then once I start playing with famous people, nobody said anything.
Yeah. They're like, okay, we knew it all along.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it, you know. And then I moved to New York.
You just say, then I moved to New York, but that must have been a big step, right?
Huge, yeah. Well, what happened was I had a bunch, you know, like when I said, you get into all these groups of friends that become professional, where you do music together and all this stuff. So there was another group of friends that I started to play jazz with, and then they became really good, and they went to New York at the age of 20 and then I didn't have the balls to do it at that time. I had to wait till I was 24. So when I moved, all those years, everybody told me, oh, you got to go to New York. You got to go to New York because of the jazz scene. So when I moved to New York, they were already starting to get established. Like Avishai Cohen, the bass player, was one of those guys. Omer Avital, another bass player, great bass player, and a couple other guys. So when I came to New York, I had some people there. It didn't make any difference to my career, but I had friends, you know what I mean? It wasn't that I came and I was just all alone in a big city, you know?
Yeah. So that, and they invited you for gigs as well, or to prove yourself? Or?
Not really. It's just like, what happens when you move to New York is everybody find his own way. So it doesn't really matter if, you know, in the beginning they were kind of calling me a little bit, but you find your way, you find your people, you find like, it just helps mentally because you have friends. You know, and you know a few people. So
you said before I didn't have the balls. What changed in those years?
I think I got older, you know, 20, 24. That 24 is a different age. And also I got more experience and stuff. And I also made more money. The more money you come with when you when you started a life is easier. So I felt comfortable enough. Okay, I think it was like $10,000 at the time, which is a lot of money now, actually. But at the time, I was like, okay, I can survive for probably a year, and then I'll make whatever I can make out of it, you know? Yeah.
So, what has that city brought you?
Well, this is pretty much my life, you know what I mean? Because I've been there now for 28 years.
Oh.
Longer than I lived in Israel, so it's almost like that's where I'm from now, you know.
Yeah. If you're announced here as Osnoy, USA, it says.
Yeah, it is, because I lived there for longer than I lived in Israel, and I don't make music in Israel. I make music in New York, so it's like
what kind of relationship do you have with that place? Is it a love relationship, or also love-hate, or like, because
there's love-hate relationship everywhere you're going to be. I don't think anywhere is perfect. You know, some things, I still like New York. It's not what it used to be. It went downhill. It's a lot more expensive. There's less places to play. There's certain things like the pandemic kind of messed things up for everything, but also for that. But it's still New York. There's no other place like it. I feel comfortable there. I can play. There's still a good amount of great players. It's still, although it shrunk, it's still the greatest, best jazz scene in the world. So there's nowhere else to go if you want to play jazz. Or if you want to experience jazz, on that level. Other than that, it's like my home now. I don't know. It's hard for me to detach from and look at it from the side,
Yeah. But by that time, as far as your guitar playing is concerned, did you really have your voice?
No. Well, when I moved to New York, I don't think I had my voice. But I learned what I don't want to be or sound like, which means when I moved to New York, I moved with a Stratocaster and a 175, a Gibson hollow body. So when I was playing in Israel, I had like two personalities. I was playing like rock and blues and pop, and I was playing jazz. When I moved to New York, I tried to do a couple of gigs on the jazz guitar, and I realized that ain't gonna work because, there's all those guys like Rosenwinkel or Bernstein. It's like I sounded like a very bad version of them, And then at the same time, something interesting happened. I started to play with Gavin DeGraw.
Yeah.
When he was just really starting. Like I did the first gigs he ever did in New York. Like I know him since like literally he did the first thing in New York.
Okay.
He's like a brother,
Okay.
So
you're still playing with him, right?
Recently, yeah, we always stayed in touch, and I played with him in the past. But recently, I played on his new album.
Yeah.
So we started to play a little bit again, which is great. But we started to play every Monday at this club. That's where they discovered him and how he got signed and stuff. And I didn't have an acoustic guitar, so I actually traded my 175 for a Guild acoustic guitar, and that's the best thing I've ever done because then it was just me and a Strat. So whether I play jazz or rock, it's just that guitar. So that helped a lot, to kind of find my voice, you can say.
Yeah, because it's definitely Strat.
I played Telecaster too, but yeah. But another thing that happened was the band that all those records that I made, the concept didn't start in New York. It actually started in Israel. I was playing a lot of jazz gigs in Israel, but as a guitar player, sometimes you have to be the band leader to get the gigs. And I somehow start getting called. So I started my own kind of band. And there was a club in Tel Aviv. It's not a club, it's a bar. And they already had a jazz band playing. So I went to the guy. I was like, hey, what if I do like a blues thing there? Because I got really into Stevie Ray Vaughan and Robin Ford. So he said, yeah, sure. So I played like weekly there. And we played instrumental, but Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of style, which was great. And then I started to get bored, and I was like, what if I started to add some more like R&B and funk things? So I started to play James Brown and Stevie Wonder tunes and stuff, all instrumentally. And then a couple of months after, I kind of got bored from that. So then I was like, well, what would happen if I'll start playing my jazz vocabulary and all that stuff? And that's what I did. And that's kind of like roughly the concept of my band in a way, where, it could be anything, any contemporary groove. It doesn't have to be swing, but improvisation is jazz improvisation. So then when I moved to New York, I did a couple of gigs at a club named The Bitter End with just some friends that were there. And then the guy kind of liked me at the club. So he gave me like once a month in the beginning. That's how I met Anton Fig, actually, that way. And there was another club, and I just started to play this stuff that I was doing in Israel. Maybe I wrote a couple of tunes and stuff, but that's how the trio started. And then maybe a couple of years after, not that long after, they used to record at The Bitter End. They used to record, and you get a tape. So I made a CD out of like one of the live things. And when I went to Israel one time, friends of mine that are producers had a studio, and I played them all this pop stuff that I was doing. I was like, check this one. And then I said, like, hey, I got this thing from this live band that I'm doing in New York. And they listened to it. I was like, man, you got to make an album from that. It's really got a vibe. And then I had another friend of mine, great guitar player in New York, named Mark Schulman, really good. And he was kind of telling me the same thing. Hey, this got a vibe. I was just playing to get noticed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to record it. That was the first record I did. It was the Oz Live, and it's live at the Bitter End. And since then, I played at the Bitter End every Monday for like 17 years, almost 18 years. And right before the pandemic, I stopped. I would still play. And then now I just play there on Thursdays sometimes when I can.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how my whole band started. It's just that way.
You mentioned the word bored twice. You said it on stage as well.
Yeah.
I get easily bored.
It's not that I get easily bored. You know, when you play improvised music, you have to get stuff you got to get
a challenge, maybe
inspires. Yeah, challenge inspired. You also feel like you can do the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So is that inherent of your character that you have to explore new stuff the whole time?
Let's put it, maybe I'm not as patient, you know, so I get bored quick. Maybe that's a part of it. Yeah. But that's that's
also a good drive, maybe.
Yeah, no, not bad. But that's how it's kind of interesting. When I moved to New York, I didn't think I'll be a solo artist. It didn't cross my mind at all. Even when I started to do my trio thing, and I even did that live album, I still didn't think I want to be a solo artist. I just thought, it'll be cool. I'll get some gigs. I don't know, maybe Sting will hear the thing and call me. I don't know. Stupidly enough, I didn't realize that it's exactly the opposite. But then what happened is I did that live album and I started playing regularly at the Bitter End, and it was kind of a scene. Like at the time, New York was a pretty live city. People would hang late and people would come to show. It's not like that anymore as much. So we used to play every Monday. And I think, Jimmy, you said that you hooked me up with Mike Varney. There was a friend of mine. There was a friend of mine that knew. It was kind of a double thing. Like a friend of mine knew this label upstate that was a part of Mike Varney's label, Magna Carta. He was a part of that umbrella of Mike Varney. And he heard that CD of mine, that live CD of mine that I played with my friends. He heard that and he said, oh, yeah. So they gave me a record deal. That's how I did Ha. That's how I did Ha, Fuzzy, and Schizophrenic. I did 3 records for Magna Carta.
I have to name because a friend of mine was in Magna Carta. Lemur Voice was a Dutch band. They were on there. So, but then he didn't have Shrapnel anymore, right?
No, Magna Carta was always a part of Shrapnel. I don't know if that exists anymore, but at the time it was like a part of his it was under his umbrella, you know. Yeah.
So, okay, I didn't realize that when. Okay, so then the Osnoy as a solo artist, all of a sudden it's a thing, right?
Yeah, you know, it only hit me maybe after I did my 3rd solo record that, okay, I guess I'm that. No, but really, because I wasn't doing it to be that. I was doing it just to be able to work and play with good players and get gigs, you know? I wasn't really doing it for any other reason than that. And at the time, I had access to a lot of people in New York, and because you have your music and people start to talk, you know, suddenly I'm playing with Will Lee, and Keith Carlock and Anton Fig was there from day one, but Will Lee and James Genus, and then at some point I got hooked up with Dave Weckl, so it started to roll in a way where I was like, okay, or Vinny Colaiuta, same thing. I was like, okay, that's great. I can get access to all these great players, you know?
Like, so interesting how those connections, how super important they are for any musician, right?
Yeah, that's how you really kind of get your thing going. People think that maybe it's like you go to auditions or there's like some magic pill or something, or there's agents but it's not. It's from,
just like, hey, this is this guy.
Yeah, it's from friends. It's like people recommend people. Maybe now you can find people on YouTube, on Instagram, but it used to be like just like somebody recommends somebody and recommends somebody, you know, just how it works.
Do you have to like the people with who you play?
Yeah, it's better if you like them than if you don't.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, you kind of do. Especially if you tour. If you tour with somebody that's problematic, it could be a nightmare. Yeah.
Hey, but you mentioned Gavin DeGraw. You played when exactly? You said now you recently played with him, and in the beginning
we started to play. Me and Gavin, we just talked about it recently. We started to play in '98 or '99, and so we've been playing together for 25 years now.
When exactly was his breakthrough then?
The breakthrough was like 2002 maybe or something like that. I don't remember, but yeah, because I played with him. He got signed in 2001 or 2. I can't remember the exact year. And then he did the first album, and it was kind of a weird story. Like with as much as he was obviously the new big thing, it was obvious from the minute I heard him play one chord on the piano and open his voice. Everybody knew he's the next thing.
Yeah.
But it still took him 2 years to get him signed when he was playing a lot. I was playing those 2 years with him all the time. And then eventually Clyde Davis got him. But so I would say from 2000, let's say 99 to 2001. And then I think in 2002 he recorded and that record came out. But in the beginning, that record didn't do so well. And they decided, because we used to play all the time as an acoustic thing, me and him. And then even with a band, but it had a different vibe. Actually, the producer in LA kind of copied what we did in New York and kind of messed it up in a way. It's not that a record doesn't sound good, but it had a different vibe in New York. So then they decided to do the strip record, an acoustic record. And then they got the band in New York. So I played on that. And then after that, one of the songs broke and then he became huge,
How was that because as a sideman to see somebody become a star, right?
Yeah. It was kind of interesting. Now when I see it in a different perspective, now when I play with him, I see all this. I was like, damn, man, he got so many hits. It's crazy, but it's kind of cool, It was, I play with him on and off, but I never really toured with him. So I'll play with him in the beginning. He got signed. I did some stuff with him. Then sometimes he'll call me to do a recording or little things. But I was kind of out of his camp in a way, But I always stayed in touch with him, And recently he called me because he was doing some stuff in New York and he asked me, hey, can you help me out? I was like, sure. So we started to play again and he really loved it. So we kind of kept it going. And then he redid that.
Yeah.
The new album is a remake of the first album. Yeah. So I played on that, which was great.
Hey,
I still don't tour with him. Sometimes I do little gigs with him here and there,
I want to go to your playing. What just struck me, and if I listen to your albums as well, it's like I mentioned in the beginning, it's kind of a constant surprise the whole time.
Oh.
It's like caressing and then kicked in the butt and like, oh, this is beautiful. And then, whoa, it is that, do you agree that it's like that?
I can't tell.
Okay. Clear enough. Okay, then my next question doesn't make sense here.
I can't answer that.
No, but it's very striking how surprising it is the whole time.
That's good to know. That's good. That means that it's jazz, It's like improvising,
But you must have in your brain search for surprises in some way, right?
No. I just try to develop ideas all the time. I think the idea is because what I'm doing is a mix. It's a real mix of jazz and blues, and rock and all that. It's all really mixed in there. Then I can go different places with it easily, And
what helps you to develop those ideas?
The songs that I write. Because when you have a concept of a band and you write certain songs, then you can have that concept and go that way, and it doesn't sound stupid, let's say. And
you have certain people in mind then as well?
Do I have certain people in mind?
If you write those tunes, you say.
Oh yeah, sometimes I do.
Yeah,
sometimes I do. Yeah,
a little
sometimes I'll think about a drummer when I write a song. It's like, oh, this drummer will sound great on this, or stuff like that.
But what I also really like is it's so squeaky and so like it's not polished, at least. Is that something deliberate then, perhaps?
Well, we play live in the studio, even when we record in the studio.
Yeah,
we play live. We don't try to you know, the whole idea is I've recorded like jazz albums.
Yeah.
So because of that, you get the live feeling of there's no overdubs, or I don't overdub solos or anything. I just go for it.
No, but it's the way it sounds, but also the way you play. Like it's not like it's not polished, right?
I don't know. I wish it was. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just play what I play, you know.
Hey, and you're teaching as well at Berkeley. And you're doing master classes.
Yeah.
How? In what way does that teach you?
Teaching is interesting. I don't love it, but it's kind of interesting because it's almost like you teach yourself again what you teach other people, and sometimes it opens certain ideas in your head and stuff like that.
You say, I don't love it. Why do you do it then?
Because it's money. And it's not that I don't like it. Sometimes it could be cool. It's just that it's, you know, sometimes repetition, you know, sometimes you got the same kind of students. You go, I did this again with 100 other guys, you know.
Is there sometimes somebody who inspires you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. It's just that it's not always that, you know.
Yeah. I can imagine. So yeah. Hey, and now you're on tour with Anton Fig and Jimmy Haslip.
Yeah.
And you already recorded the next album, you said, right?
Yeah, but that's a jazz album. It's a quartet album. It's coming out on Crisscross Records.
Okay, when is it due?
I think November 28th.
Okay, so this is timeless on the internet. So it's 2024.
24, yeah, exactly. November 28th, 2024.
Yeah.
It's an album, a jazz album quartet with David Kikowski on piano, James Genos on bass, and Clarence Penn on drums. It's called Fun One.
Fun One?
Yeah.
So this was...
Was it fun?
Yeah.
Now it's fun when it's done.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap this up as well. Then it starts to get fun.
No, it's cool. I'm really happy that I did this album. So it's cool.
Yeah. So is it something? Is it with a quartet? Tell me a little bit more. You mentioned the people.
I just did. I've been doing this band for many, many years. I just never recorded it. So I have all these arrangements of standards, and I wrote one tune, or an original tune. That's the tune called Fun One. That's the original. But it's just arrangements of standards, and we kind of play it the way we play it.
You call it derangements, right?
Derangements. I deranged a couple of tunes, yeah.
You get quite violent with them.
Sometimes.
With them, right?
Yeah. No, it was cool. There's a couple of different... We did I did a version of Giant Steps that will surprise people. And I don't know, the rhythm change. I play different guitars. I play a 12-string, a baritone, an acoustic on a tune. Did like a monk tune on acoustic guitar. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear it, man.
It's coming out soon.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Hey, I appreciate your time, Osnoy.
No problem.
Thanks for your time, and listeners also.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.